Well, hello, good evening. So it must be 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, so it must be time for another episode of Embrace Live. Glad you can join us tonight. You're very welcome. And we're looking forward to hearing from you and your comments and so on. Thanks, Margaret, for already with the love hearts posted on the comments. That's great. You're really good. As always, this is Embrace Live, which is, a kind of an hour's worth of hopefully a little bit entertaining, but we want to cover a whole variety of topics, really. We're trying to do this every week, as I've already said, at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. You can catch up otherwise, but, if you don't make it kind of live, really. But if you do make it live, then here's your opportunity to post your comments and your questions, because we want this to be a real kind of relaxed, informal, interactive kind of hour, really, together. Like I said, we're going to cover a whole variety of topics. A couple of weeks ago, we kicked off a series that we're calling kind of My Story, which is what people in churchy circles call their testimony, really. And it's kind of their story of their life experience and how they came to make a decision to follow Jesus for themselves. Okay, so we've heard from Alan and Tony Fraser a couple of weeks ago. Really want to encourage you to kind of catch that as well. You can, like I say, on replay, either on our Facebook page or on YouTube, our YouTube channel. And they're well worth watching. Like I said, they're an easy watch and not too challenging, thankfully. We try and not get too into the churchy speak. We try and make it accessible to everybody, really, whether you do the church thing or not. And of course, we always want to kind of hear from people and their thoughts and their feedback and suggestions for future topics. So we've got coming up, we've got more stories over the next kind of month or so, and then we've got a kind of a series where we want to kind of introduce you to kind of worship leaders. Now, you might not know what a worship leader is, but that's a person who's kind of responsible in a church setting for doing God's songs and, kind of what's that all about. And we'll dive into that a little bit more when we get to that series. But up until then, we're going to hear from more people. And like I say, we want to kind of try and, cover topics that you're going to be interested in and keep it going. All right? So please, we want to know obviously what your suggestions are. So feel free to post it on the Facebook page. You can email us. You can contact us via our website, whichever. We'll post all those kind of links a little bit later on. So my name is Dave. I'm really count it a real privilege to be part of Embrace Church in Darlington. I get to do, the kind of the church thing, not just on a Sunday, but living the church life right throughout the week with a number of great people. Some you've met on these episodes already, like Alan and Tony, and last week, and I'll bring Hannah in, who's waiting patiently, I can see on my other monitor here. Hannah, we met last week as well, so it was our turn to tell our God stories, or should we say part one, because to be honest, we got into it so much, I think we only covered our lives up to the point, really, where we kind of made a decision and soon afterwards to kind of follow Jesus. So really, we've got three questions in mind, and we want to try and cover the third question, really, of what life has been like since then. What's impact has that made on our lives and so on. Just a quick shout out then, obviously, to a few more people who've commented and joined us online. It's great for joining us. So Alan Fraser, as always. Alan is one of the leaders of Embrace Church. And like I say, we've met him in previous kind of episodes of Embrace Live. And you can see already he's asked a question. Now, he's desperate to know the answer to this. So I'm going to keep him hanging a little bit later, until later on, really. So, Alan has got those really theological, deep, big life questions, and as you can see, he's got a particular question about a favourite Spice Girl of mine and would like to know. All right. Mike and Liz Conley, it's great to have you with us, and Ma Jackson, Miss Jill, thank you. All right, so it's great. Let me bring in Hannah, and we can say hello. All right, so here we go. Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I've got a little bit more of a voice this week than last week.
Yeah.
Last week I sounded like I smoked 40 a day. Now I just sound like I smoked 20. So
at least you're cutting down. At least you're cutting down.
I know.
Yeah, that's good.
Help.
Yeah. Apart from croaky voices, has your week been all right? Have you been busy? What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a really busy week and just working, really.
Yeah.
Sister's birthday yesterday, so I had a little bit of a family meal for her, but yeah, just...
All right, well, who's your sister? How old was she,
I best not say her age, like...
Oh, go on, do it. We want to know.
She was 28. She was 28.
Wow. You said that as if she's really, really old and be embarrassed about that. Thanks for that. That makes the rest of us really good.
Age out loud, though.
All right, okay.
This is the thing.
28, eh? She doesn't look a day over 35. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so, bit of a family do yesterday. What else? What have you been up to?
And not much, really. Not much at all. Just literally working. On Saturday, I had a little family do for Rebecca as well. Gave her a little bit of an afternoon tea. So, other than that, not much. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, it sounds like you're making a big fuss of your big sis and her birthday. Like, is she a bit of a diva?
Well, right, it's my birthday 7 days after. So, if I make a big fuss of her, hopefully, she'll make a big fuss of me.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah, absolutely. There's a good comment from Steve. Let me just pop that on screen already, because I totally agree. Let me just post that and move it around a little bit so it fits nicely where it goes. There we go. I agree. I've got shirts older than that as well. I'm not wearing one tonight, though. There we go. All right. So, my week's been busy. So, we've... I'm looking a bit kind of bleary-eyed at the minute. I'm just noticing the bags are a little bit bigger than normal. We've had quite a big week in Dixon Towers, really, because on Thursday evening we welcomed an 8-week-old pup into our lives. In fact, Here is the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just go to here to introduce you to the latest edition of Team Dixon. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Elsie, and she is 8 weeks old. And she's so cute and adorable, and you have to remind yourself of that when she's waking you up at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, but we had a lie-in this morning. It was 5:30 a.m. I didn't even know that time existed. I haven't done that for a long, long time. So, you going to say anything, Elsie? Or are we just literally going to have Elsie Cam for the whole of this hour? All right? There she is. There she is. I just want to cuddle her all night. All right, okay. I'm going to hand her back to my wonderful assistant. There we go. Thank you very much, wonderful assistant. So, let me just pop this back on here again. So, busy week. Like you, been busy with work and so on. And, all good, really. And been doing bits of church stuff during the week as well, because it might be a bit of a revelation, but... we are the church. We don't just go to church on a Sunday. So there's a big kind of statement to make and so on. All right. Okay. So let's do a bit of a recap.
Yeah.
So obviously, if people haven't managed to catch last week's episode, then, if you get a chance and you watch, you get a chance to watch it, then please do. It might make a bit more sense but, where do we kind of get to in terms of a very brief summary of life before and then life up to that moment you made a decision to become one of these Jesus freaks, a follower of Jesus, a God botherer? Go on, give us a quick, give us a 30-second summary.
So I spoke about how my family always had me in church.
Yeah.
And then how when it wasn't until I was 16 years of age, 16
very
years
formal.
old.
Thank you.
I decided in the middle of a Christian festival to take that step and become a Christian, or to fully accept Jesus. Because I would always say I was always a Christian, but I fully accepted Christ.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm actually laughing, sorry, at the comments I can see coming up already. And as always, Philip's online watching, which is great. And he's jumped straight in there. Well, let's just put it on the screen, obviously. Reference to my favourite Spice Girl. And, oh, yeah, look, that's Steve's jumping in as well, So these are really good friends of mine. You can always rely on their support and things like that. But there you go. All right, so, sorry, I interrupted. So...
No, what about you? What did you get up to with your story?
All right, so I talked a lot about going to a church with my parents, at first being my mother in particular was a spiritualist and was active in a spiritualist church. Had a lot of difficulties with health, part of that being mental health, and lots of things going on in the family that were quite difficult over a long time. And then an uncle and an auntie, big names again, Uncle Fred, Auntie Betty. They are proper auntie and uncle names there, aren't they? Came to visit one weekend, and then I saw what I would consider almost a miraculous change in my mother. And I found out afterwards that she'd become a Christian, and we started as a family going to another local church. Mm-hmm. And then it came to this for me, because I'm slightly older than you, just slightly. 1984, not 1884, although I don't look that old. 1984, Roker Park, big American evangelist guy called Billy Graham. Amazing man. All right. Roker Park, whole stadium was on tour, and was talking about Jesus. I went with the intention of A, watching my dad in the choir, but B, the main intention of getting down on the pitch and trying to create a bit of havoc. Okay. But actually met Jesus through what was being said and so on. So that's when I became a Christian, really. So there's my kind of potted history. We did talk more, obviously, last week. Let's just have a moment of encouragement from Alan. Let's get that posted on there. We're looking good. Thank you. You especially did my hair tonight.
I was just about to say, I actually washed my hair this week.
Yeah,
last week I had to tie it up. I've actually washed it this week.
Particularly enjoying the white kind of patches that are appearing. It's getting a bit, bit long. I have to cut that. All right. So, I can see Philip's posted a question there as well. There we go. Let's just get Steve in again. Right, there we go. That was obviously the place to be. Okay. I didn't know Steve at that point, but I don't, but I met him soon-ish afterwards, and never looked back really. So that's where we kind of got to.
We spoke a lot about things, like we went into a little bit about like what worship was and what that was as well, didn't we, last week? But that was mainly what we were talking about.
Yeah. So I suppose that.
Hi, Alex. Sorry.
It's all right. I suppose that kind of leads us then to that third question, because what we're trying to do over these kind of my story, episodes is to kind of ask the questions, isn't it? The three questions which we said: what was life like before? What was, if you like, what were the circumstances? When you came to make that decision for yourself to follow Jesus, and then, what's life like been, or what's life been like since then? If I can get my words out, and. I think we established pretty quickly that, and Alan and Tony said this in their stories, and I think it's pretty much the reality that once we became a Christian, life wasn't totally perfect, and we're all just happy and just waiting until we get to heaven and doing nothing else. Is that a fair kind of way of saying it?
I wouldn't say we're all sat doing nothing. I wouldn't say that, no.
Yeah.
I
But has
wouldn't-
life
I
been
wouldn't say-
hassle-free for you, Hannah? Has life been hassle-free
No.
since? No.
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't say life was hassle-free. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say my life was any easier
Yeah.
than it might not have been. I've had to face a lot of challenges in my life.
Yeah.
I face challenges all the time. I've been facing a challenge at the moment, like currently in my life situation right now, but I can't talk too much in detail about that live on Facebook.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. We
but,
want to be obviously sensitive to situations, so we're not expecting you to kind of pour out your heart and land yourself in it, and we want to be respectful, obviously, to other people as well, don't we? Particularly, we don't want to, we don't want to name and shame and things like that, but we can talk generally about challenges we face, I'm sure.
I've faced a lot of battles. Like I like to call them battles more than challenges. I faced a lot of battles in my life, and I couldn't have done it without having God on my side, basically.
Now that's a comment you made last week, didn't you? Sorry to interrupt you, but you said something very similar last week.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Like you say, it'd be nice to think that we all happy clappy like these churchy people can often be all of the time. But the reality of life is very different. It's, as they say, a roller coaster. You've just got to ride it. Okay. But thankfully on that roller coaster, like we both said, and it might be a bit of a cheesy analogy, sorry for that, but we've got Jesus is sat there with us all the time, isn't he? Whether we're going on the hills or in the valleys, our God is faithful and with us. So, I mean, I don't want to put you too much on the spot, really, but we can maybe get to some of those challenges, or if you're happy to mention them,
Cool.
Yeah, obviously with as much detail or as little detail as you want to, and like I say, we want to be respectful to you and obviously other people as well. So we need to be careful of how we say things. I'm not suggesting that you are going to drop people in and start, bad mouthing people live. Wouldn't do that. But I just think it's more of a reminder as well to myself. Okay. So. Let's go back a little bit then, if that's all right, because I know we got into a discussion about worship and what is it and that kind of stuff. And we kind of said last week that worship is not just singing on a guitar, come by your songs, I think Mike suggested, who was watching last week. But it's a lifestyle of worship, yeah? Part of that picture is singing and music, which I know we both really, really enjoy. Okay.
Yeah. It's a big passion of ours.
Yeah, and so what I want us to do, because you mentioned kind of harvest, which, well, just tell us again what is harvest, because immediately I start thinking again of harvest assembly and that school stuff. Being a teacher, you're bringing in an old tin of kidney beans that you've had in the cupboard since 1987, as your offering for, harvest assembly, that kind of stuff, but what's harvest? What was harvest? Or is, or whatever.
Harvest was a youth Christian festival.
Yep.
It wasn't just for Christians, it was for non-Christians as well, to in a youth group and kind of come along and learn what God was and that sort of thing. I can't get my words out tonight. Normally you can't shut me up. But yeah, it was just a big event, big Christian event for youth.
I'm just I pause there. I'm reading. Sorry, I'm reading some of these comments, and so it seems like actually, a lot of people were at this. As we say there, the 1984. I hadn't realised your mum was actually there as well. Let me just move that across.
Oh, my mum picked about in the Christian world,
Yeah. I didn't realise she was a collector, as in, she was the enforcer maybe for the forms and stuff like that.
There's a lovely video over on on Songs of Praise. Lovely video over, and my dad too.
Well, actually, I've managed to. I'm going to say persuade, almost volunteer your mum and dad to come on at some point. So we might just have just do a little bit of digging, see if we can get that, Songs of Praise
Oh no,
video.
your mum will be able to find it.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe that can feature in that little section with them, that episode. We look forward to that. Okay. So Harvest was a Christian festival, August bank holiday weekend. Harvest features big in both our lives, really. We're both heavily involved. You literally talked about how you were a child, slave labour, child labour, with your number 10, high vis vest, security, and all of that. And, obviously it was a big part of your life and so on. So, that's, and I would say the same thing, really. What can we talk a little bit about Harvest, and in the sense that I remember you said you actually weren't in the meeting, and by that, Harvest used to have regular meetings on the day times and all sorts of activities going on, as well as bands and sports and workshops of different kinds. What do you think that you've got out of Harvest in terms of how has it kind of shaped you as a person? What did you learn during Harvest? Did you get anything out of it? And
I met so many people through Harvest, through the Christian world. Even now that I'm an adult, people go, "Oh yeah, I remember from Harvest. Oh yeah, how are you? Oh yeah, I know them from Harvest." Met so many different people through the Christian world who you run into when you go to different churches or through different events and stuff. Which is really quite nice, actually, to know that quite a few people. Well, I saw a lot of people serving at Harvest as well, although I wasn't fully aware that that's what they were doing. I thought at the time, oh, they're just doing it because that's the job that they signed up for or whatever. Or they wanted to, I don't know, just do something. Realised it was a lot of serving. Harvest, I've got to say, shaped quite a lot of my music interest.
Yeah.
Because I got to see a lot of different bands. One of the Christian bands, I mentioned last week, was the Band with No Name.
Yeah.
And now I absolutely loved the Band with No Name growing up. I absolutely loved them. I was in it. I did a lot of dancing and stuff, and the dance group that I was in, did choreographing to Dependence and the Band with No Name, actually. So I was a huge little fan. It was, for me, it was that's who I really loved, them and Steps. It was all Christian music and Steps. And a bit of a
that's a tragedy. Oh dear. All right, so obviously those Harvest kind of events. So bank holiday weekend in August. Now I started attending obviously well before you did, because I don't think I don't think even you were maybe alive at this point. I don't know.
I was born in '96, if that helps.
Yeah. Well, considering the first time I went to Harvest was '87. So I was there a while before you came about. Okay. But I was when I became a Christian at Roker Park, I was 14, and I think a lot of people, I hope I'm not alone in this, but when the kind of teenage years are kind of happening, then I struggled a bit, really, and although I was still going to church with the parents, because at that age I was being dragged along, and we kind of established last week a little bit that it was a good, if nothing else, social club. I had become a Christian. I had, committed my life to Jesus, and so I was going to heaven. I knew I was, had that guarantee, because that's what the Bible says. And so I know that I was going to heaven, but I was struggling to kind of live what people would call a Christian life. And obviously that's every day of the week rather than just doing the Sunday kind of thing. And then, so what was I? I was 15, coming up 16, really. when I first went to Harvest, and like you, I loved it. It was great. You know, obviously there were different bands at that point, but it was being with loads of young people from lots of different churches. You know, and really going to what was pretty much the main event of the year in the area. You know, to kind of meet up and enjoy your time with the youth group. I got into scrapes and spots of bother and those kind of things. I wasn't always a well-behaved young man, but it was great. It really had a huge impact. And then you mentioned serving. You mentioned seeing people in action. You know, kind of serving.
Mm-hmm.
I think that spoke to me a lot, actually, because, you know, like you, it seems like you're a person who likes to do stuff rather than sit back and almost be a consumer and be a kind of like passive observer. Is that fair? Do you like to kind of get in there and do stuff, whatever it may be? And I know that you've said that you like dancing and music and stuff, but it's not all the stuff that's on the stage, because you talked last week about like the child labour again, you know, kind of peeling potatoes and helping to serve and using the camera and stuff behind the spotlight, if in that sense as well. Is that where you think?
Don't get me wrong. I like to be lazy, like as well.
Yeah.
But I do like to be busy. I like to be on the front line.
Yeah.
I do like to be involved in things. I've seen my mum and dad growing up fully involved with things. I'm going to mention a couple of other festivals. Like they used to do lots of stuff with Easter people, which I used to be involved with. We used to be involved, like I want to say, like drive. He'll comment. He's watching, I think. Used to drive the bus for like Wi-Fi Day, which was another little idol band of mine. Like I loved them. I used to fall asleep on the front of stages when my mum and dad had like a worship team, or like in boxes when Wi-Fi Day was going on and stuff. I've always seen them be busy. What people don't know is with my mum, she was obviously like head of catering for Harvest, but for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before, we were going to Costco, Macro, Asda, Tesco's. We were buying absolutely stocked, piled high. I remember going, like, you couldn't get in the dining room from floor to ceiling would be it with food for Harvest. Same with our living room, there would just be food everywhere, all for Harvest. So for us, Harvest wasn't just a weekend that we turned up. My mum and stuff would prepare for it like months and months before. I remember growing up and I used to have to be dead good and be in bed because there was big team meetings going on. And I used to sneak in. And I used to remember my mum and dad saying, Hannah, go to bed. So like, for me, I've seen my parents always be very actively involved in things with the church. And it's not just them. I used to listen to stories of my grandma and granddad, and my nana and granddad serving and always being involved. So for me, it's always been in my life, and I don't really want to sit on the sidelines. I kind of want to be there. I want to be doing stuff.
Yeah. Why? So, why do you want to be doing stuff? Why don't you want to sit on the sidelines?
I knew you would ask me why. Because I don't shy away from my faith. I don't shy away from that. This thing, this life choice, this. Well, we mentioned it earlier. This Holy Spirit it is within me. So I want to go and tell people. I want to go and show people. I want to show people the crazy love of Jesus. I want to show people the kindness. And I always think you need to show love. You need to spread love. So by me doing those things is me sharing love, is me showing love. And that's what I want to do. So I just want to show people love all the time. And I can be grumpy. I can not be this positive person all the time. I can get within myself and stuff. But for me, I want to show people the love for Christ. And I know we're live on Facebook, and some people might don't go to our Embrace and stuff. But Philip said on Sunday that when people like go dying, you say, well, you didn't give me Christ, and they'll go, well, actually we gave you Philip. So like, meaning actually Christ is within me. So actually I need to be showing people Christ. And yeah, I do wrong actions. I do. I don't do everything right. But for me, I can't just sit on the sideline and let other people do it for me.
Yeah.
I kind of have to do it myself.
So is it fair to say then, as a response, or even as an act of worship, because we talked about that as a lifestyle, as a response of what Jesus has done for you, i.e. he died on the cross for you and he made a way to, you have your sins forgiven, and the enemy, Satan, devil, whatever you want to call him, was defeated once and forevermore because of that victory of Jesus on the cross. Because of that, and because you now have an intimate, meaningful, living relationship with God, as a way of thanking God for that, you want to serve him in whatever way that you can. Is that fair to say?
I would say, yeah, you do want to serve him in like any way I can, but it goes into what we talked about a little bit last week about worship. Do everything we said. I want to say it was Steve who put it in the comments. I'm sorry if it wasn't, but he literally said like all acts that you do, like do it for Christ. And
that's right. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I would like to think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I am showing people Christ. I would like to think that the actions I'm doing is a form of service.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obviously, if you can see the comment on the screen, others recognise that in you, which is great, because, I don't know, it's easy to say the words but not live it,
Yeah.
So you clearly, and I can see this, in you all the time. I can. You're not a Sunday Christian. That's kind of turning up, and well, you said that in your story, really, or this. You've turned up to church, but that actually doesn't mean that you have a living relationship with God and Jesus yourself at that point. But you're living that out now. And you talked a lot about showing and others' love and the love of Jesus. Alan's asked a question here. And I'm thinking about this. I realise I'm asking you lots of questions and not really talking about myself. But I will relate, my thoughts. I don't know about you, but if I answer this kind of question, I didn't go and announce to everybody when I got back from Roker Park when I was 14-year-old. I didn't go and announce to everybody in the playground, at secondary school, right, I have become a Christian, okay, and because I don't know about you, I knew what the reaction would be, to be honest, I wasn't the most popular at school anyway, I had my difficulties, but that wouldn't have helped, I don't think. What did you think?
You know what? I've always told everyone
that
I'm a Christian. It's the first thing I always say. But even when I like going, I'm a bit of a local girl. I like going to the pubs. I'm not going to lie, I do. And if I meet new people, the first thing I go, well, I'm at church on Sunday. And they all find it hilarious. And they go, you go to church? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I tell everybody, growing up at school, I always said I was a Christian. Always said I went to church.
Yeah.
I shared about the story about when I was in year 4 and I argued about how God makes the plane, not the motorcycle.
You did, yeah, I remember.
I used to get laughed at and picked on for being a Christian. Probably still do. I just joke on with it now. Yeah. Handle it different. Going in secondary school, everyone knew I was the Christian girl. My mates used to joke on and say I was Saint Hannah. They knew I went to Christian festivals during the summer, and they knew on my iPod that there was a playlist called God Tunes, and I still have that playlist called God Tunes.
God Tunes, come on.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, like it. I don't deny it. It's the first thing I tell people.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that I've been when I was at university, and of course being in the nightclubs or whatever, the amount of times I'm in the smoking area and people's asking me about my faith, and I'm like telling them, I'm like, do you want to come to church on Sunday then? You coming? Are you coming?
Yeah.
And I've And when I was at uni, I actually took loads of people to church on Sundays, and I might not have done anything but planted a little seed or whatever. But
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second, I've got our Levi's just walked in from his house. So if you can hear him,
yeah, we
it's
can
because
hear.
you'll want to come and say hi. But I remember being really quite bullied for being a Christian, and I remember this one time I was crying my eyes out just because I was probably shattered because I had a busy summer, but I was crying my eyes out, and I was put the song on by DC Talk Jesus Freak, and the bridge saying, "Oh, it's my favourite. I can rap the whole song. I know every single lyric. I love that song to pieces." And I remembered just like crying in my mum and dad's caravan. Actually, I was by myself. I was crying, and that song was playing. And people think I'm strange, but they make me a stranger. My best friend was born in a manger, and I just remember kept singing them lines over and over again because people don't know how to perceive me. People don't know how to take me. People sometimes see my happiness and kindness and think and don't know how to take it. And so that song for me was like, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love it to this day. So.
I really admire you because, you know, I know we're all different, but I love that unashamed, you know. And don't get me wrong, me not declaring I'm a Christian to all my friends at school doesn't mean I was ashamed of my faith. But I love the I don't know how to describe the strength, the boldness that you have, and saying, "Yeah, I'm a Christian. This is me." You know, that sounds like another song, doesn't it? We're going to start singing Million Dreams next. Yeah. So, you know, it's going to turn rapidly into the Greatest Showman soundtrack, isn't it? There we go. But I love that. I love that in you. You've always been like that, and it's where does that boldness come from? Do you think?
Obviously, I think it does come from God to be able to have like the ability to speak out, but I just think it's also partly me. It's just who I am. But I do think it is because of my faith that I do have like the strength to be able to do that. Yeah. Even we like to bring the Bible into this. We people who know the story know like even like Peter. I've gone blank now because I've got distracted by someone walking past the window. Denied Christ like 3 times. Yeah. So even like the most strongest of believers, even somebody who saw him in the flesh, saw what like went on, still on the night denied him 3 times.
Yeah.
So like, but I just think it comes from God, the ability just to say this is who I am.
Yeah.
But I also think it is part of my personality because I am quite a big, loud, bubbly person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think, you know, obviously that's who God has made you. You know, that's who He designed you to be. You know, and it's a big, you know, you are a big bubbly person, which is great. You know, a big bubbly personality, and you know, and that's what a lot of people love about you. And you know, it's who you are, and so on. Now, you know, for me, in terms, I know I've been asking you loads of questions. So, for me, when I was you know, at school, like I say, I didn't kind of publicly announce, you know, that decision that I've made to follow Jesus. And it was over the kind of few years. So I was 14, like I say, over 60, and actually through the influence of Harvest, the event we talked about that we both attended and been involved with. You know, I actually got a lot out of that. In terms of encouragement, in terms of just seeing loads of young people and more mature people who were there serving and were there looking after, you know, young people and making the event work, like your mum and dad, and, you know, all of that huge amount of effort that goes in all year round. And I don't think you can appreciate how much time and effort goes into something like a festival or any event, really, unless you've been involved in the process or of putting it together, But seeing all these people serving tirelessly and like yourself living that lifestyle of why they're doing this and not even getting paid, to do this. What's that all about? And then recognising that they do that because actually it's a form of worship. That's what they're doing. They love God, and God says love people. So this is how they're loving it. Loving people, living it out, being who they are, using their kind of gifts and talents and skills that they've got. Which again, I believe God has called us to be. Designed us and gifted us in many areas. And we're all different, and that's great. And we should celebrate that and appreciate that. I think unfortunately the church has been guilty of judging people, and I know that's a sweeping generalisation of saying the church, but some people in the church, and I include myself in that, have been guilty of judging people and things like that. But again, we can just need to look at the Bible, look at Jesus, the life of Jesus, and he is the perfect theology, as they say. That's who we need to be, aspiring to be, and with God's help through his Holy Spirit, we're on a journey being transformed to be more like Jesus. Now, we'll never be there until we get to heaven, because obviously Jesus was blameless, he was perfect, and that's how he was able to go to the cross and bear, take on all of the sins of the world, and ultimately died on that Friday, but rose again victorious on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And we can live in that victory, definitely. So, for me, it was I was about 17, 18. I was trying, I wasn't particularly announcing. I was trying to, and I was inspired by people that I saw serving in lots of different ways, to kind of make my actions speak louder than words. Because I've always been conscious that it's easy to say stuff, but actually not out living it out, and the last thing that we want is to kind of be hypocritical and double standards and all this kind of stuff. And the danger is, isn't it? I've talked about this before, actually. Once you kind of make people know that you're a Christian, then you're being watched and judged. And that, at a different time of life, I was involved in football. I used to play regularly local league sides, and I mentioned a little bit about, I was managing a side as well. Your dad was involved with that as well, and many other people. And, even though we're in a Christian league, not all of the players in our team or any team had to be Christians. So, when I was playing, and the football pitch is amazing, isn't it? Just to maybe get a little bit too competitive and maybe be a bit short-tempered and a bit frustrated and things like that. And, any
colourful language might come out.
any moment of, my kind of, in a football competitive manner, all the non-Christian lads were like, way, and that for me, we were like, and I say we, the lads who were kind of running the team, who were churchy people, we were determined to kind of live it out, not just with the football, but get involved with people's lives. And that I was really fortunate to be with great lads who knew Jesus, who wanted to do, like you've been saying, is live it out and loving people, and that included getting into their sometimes messy lives as well. And so that, that's really, and that's what we're called to do, I think, because again, we can see that example time and time again through Jesus, and that's still applicable today, absolutely. And we need to meet people where they're at. That's the thing, isn't it? Because it can be viewed that you have to be a certain standard to kind of almost get yourself into heaven. Whereas if we read the Bible, if we know Jesus, that's like exactly the opposite. You know, Jesus says, "Come as you are." You haven't done anything. You'll never do anything that'll make me love you any less. And, you know, Jesus died on the cross for everyone, all of us.
Yeah.
And, you know, and is waiting open arms, really. So, you know, I'm sorry. I think that I think the church has put people off knowing Jesus
You know what?
on
Right?
occasion.
Sometimes the church is its own problem, but the church isn't the Bible, and like church isn't like Jesus isn't God. It is God, like where we go and God people and stuff. But I shared something on Facebook and it was like and on Instagram not that long ago saying like I'm so sorry that the church failed you, but God hasn't.
Yeah.
And God hasn't failed yet. It's us humans, and that's why I think, as a Christian, we're called to love. We're called to love everybody. We're called to love people's faults and everything wrong with a person. We're called to love them. So that's why I'm so passionate about showing love to everyone, because it doesn't matter what people's gone through in the past and what people's going to go through in the future, which we don't know. You've got to love that person how Jesus would love them and how Jesus would love you. And I have to try and remind myself that as well, because when people frustrate me, it's so hard to kind of show them love that day. Or if I'm feeling like bad myself, it's really hard to get up and think, you know what, I know you've been and spoke about me behind my back. I know that you've done that, but I'm still going to be kind and show you love that day rather than go do the complete opposite. But I think as a Christian, we are called to show God's love to everyone.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's often said, I wonder what people think about that, but feel free to kind of comment, and we want to respond to that, you know, of that idea that the church has put some people off Jesus, you know, and that can be sounding quite controversial, but it has been said is if you ever find the perfect church, then don't go to it because you'll spoil it. And absolutely, that's the challenge with a church is the church with a capital C. Is that it's full of people, and like you say, we are not perfect, and we get things right and we get things terribly wrong. But Jesus is perfect, you know, and obviously we need to have and need to demonstrate and practically live it out. His grace that God shows us, really. We need to live that out. And I know that absolutely we talk a lot about Embrace Church, being a family. And, you know, it is very much a family atmosphere where we want to welcome people who are, doing really well. Fantastic. But the majority of people, you know, like we said, are really, you know, maybe struggling, and we all do that at different times, whatever those circumstances may be. And I know that as a church, Embrace, we want to welcome anybody, you know, really. We want to reach out and just get alongside and support like a family does. And again, I appreciate people have different experiences of family. And you know, my family is quite wide and extensive and has its ups and its downs, like any other family. And I know families come in all different shapes and sizes, and you know, all of those things. But you know, God loves family. We just want to reflect, like you've been saying over and over again, God's love in all of that. Okay, that we are, you know, maybe. Like Philip said, and you said earlier, when we were speaking recently, the only Jesus that some people might meet because Jesus lives in us, and that should determine everything that we do. Okay, in terms of our attitude and our actions, and obviously our words and so on. Now again, we we are on a journey. We are being transformed and renewed, it says in the Bible, to be more like Jesus, but that will only be perfect when we get to heaven. Okay? So, we want to, welcome anybody and help anybody, and that includes, listen, that doesn't mean you have to sign on the dotted line and come to Embrace and start handing over your money. We just want to come out and love people and things like that. Now, if you do want to come to Embrace and spend more time with us, great. We'd love to get to know you and you can get to know us. And the reality is some people come along to a church, maybe stay for a while and then maybe move on, for different reasons why. There's, like I said last week, there's only one church, and that's God's church. But there's lots of different flavours that kind of, as long as it's Bible-based, live out the Bible teachings, which we believe are true, absolutely, and God's given truth, then we live that out in different ways. And it looks like different churches have their different traditions and ways of doing stuff. And just like we've got different churches for different people.
Yeah, I was going to say, but yourself, Dave, you haven't gone to one church your whole entire life.
No.
I've been to numerous churches. I'm still involved with quite a few churches in Spennymoor. I'm involved with churches up in Consett. I did attend a church in Sunderland for 5 years, and I didn't really know that I was going to leave until God said in like this September, you're leaving. No, in the March, sorry, you're leaving. And then it wasn't until like later, you asked me to lead in Embrace one week because you were away. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. I'll lead worship one week. I went to Embrace, sang a couple of songs, and I was like, this is my new home. This is the church where God's like kind of saying, this is where you go. And if you look at Embrace and you look at my old church in Sunderland, they're different, but they're both fully Bible based. God uses you in different places for different times and different seasons.
Absolutely, you're right.
Like it just happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
It happened that we time.
So listen, we've got, time's gone quickly again. I'm really kind of enjoying the conversation. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Well, we've talked a lot about, living the Christian life, since then, generally, and the challenges around that. And we've established that things aren't always perfect. Going back just to when we were talking about challenges, and I just want to put on screen a comment here by Steve again. And thanks, Steve, for commenting. It's great that we can kind of respond to this, really. But I don't know about you. I totally agree that facing real challenges, and for me, in my experience, I used to work for a local authority, and there was lots of redundancies happening over a period of years, and real challenges there, and I had to say goodbye to a number of colleagues who really found the whole process, devastating. And because, if you've ever been in a redundancy situation, you can't help, despite what HR say, you can't help but, take it personally, even though you feel like you've given the role your all and so on. And, that was really difficult being in office over a period of probably a couple of years to see seats emptying, during different phases, and I was determined, and I knew my time would come, and eventually it did, but I was determined to try and live out and demonstrate the hope that I have in Jesus, because I know in the Bible it says God knows the plan for each and every single one of us, and that plan is to prosper. And whilst it was really a challenging situation to go through, I knew God was with me, and I knew I could trust in Him that it's some other, He had a plan for me, and something would come. It wasn't the end of my career and so on. And I have to say that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, actually coming up 6 years. And that's been proven. God's been with us. God's with us throughout every circumstance. And again, it's to lean on Him during the tough times and lean on your church family. That may well be your direct family, but you're certainly your church family, and and all of that. I don't know if you found the same thing.
So, like I said, I've faced a lot of challenges. In fact, it was only last week that I was crying on. It was like the Monday or the Tuesday. I think it was the Monday. I was crying to my mum on the phone, saying, "Mum, why have I had to face all these battles and all these challenges? Why do I have to keep going through this? Like, I've got broad shoulders. I can take a lot, but why am I still going through this?" Which was like, I don't know, but I have faced a lot of challenges since being young, since being in primary school. I've been bullied. I've been called a liar at one of my jobs, and had to go down like a disciplinary route, and like that absolutely broke me. But every time, God had a plan. God had something there waiting around the corner every time. And every time I've gone through that battle, I always pray the same sort of prayer. I always pray for God to hold me right hand because I'm right-handed, but there's also a Bible verse about the right hand. I always pray for to wear like the armor of God, which is like God's word and stuff, and God protect me and stuff like that. But I think that's kind of my journey with God, is that I am going to face a lot of battles and a lot of challenges. Maybe because I am quite active and quite passionate, and every time I said to my grandma, on literally Monday, I said to my grandma, I said, you know what, it's because I've done something in the church, or I've spoke out on work and doing God's work. I said, and now I'm being attacked. And I said, it's the same every time. I do God's work, and now I'm being attacked. And what I mean by that for like non-Christians is, like, I fully believe that the devil is real, and I do believe that when you do God's stuff, I do believe he's going to be on your tail, trying to bring you down.
Absolutely.
I 100% believe that. So I have had to face a lot of challenges, and I get through it through prayer.
But we know, don't we? We know that it doesn't finish there. That even though the enemy attacks, ultimately he's defeated because of the cross and what Jesus did there, once and forevermore. We can claim that victory. We live in that victory. That doesn't mean to say that we won't face challenge and attacks and battles, as you said earlier. The enemy will still press our buttons. He's very deceitful. He's cunning and all of those kind of things. But we know ultimately that Jesus has won that victory once and forevermore, and we can live in that victory.
And the thing is, I couldn't see life without God, without Jesus, without church, without my family, without prayer, without all of that. I couldn't see life like that.
Absolutely.
I know it's 1 minute too, but I've just seen Alan's question.
Well, I'm gonna finish. Hang on, I'm gonna finish with two of Alan's questions, because otherwise, if we don't do this, we won't hear the end of it. All right? Okay. The first one is this one. All right, and he just said he actually means if you had one sentence, so forgive the typo, to tell someone why should they try church. You can answer that one, and then I'll answer the next one.
So I say you should be starting church with just a few of you, maybe one or two of you. Take a friend out, take your Christian friend out for a coffee and ask them the questions, and actually get to see, ask them what is church? Why should I go to church? And one sentence to tell someone why they should go to church is because you'll come in and you'll feel like the atmosphere of what we are. We are God's people, and you'll get a free cup of tea and a biscuit and a box of cereal if you come to our church. Great.
Yeah. I agree. And it's an opportunity, and this is what Alan said, to maybe answer their questions, to get some answers to some big questions that they have. Because I remember Alan telling us in his story about having a lot of big questions, particularly when he was around 20 or so, 19, 20, those kind of things about life, so it's an opportunity to pose those questions and encounter Jesus and have those questions hopefully, answered fully, if not partly, but then God will answer fully in his own time. Okay, the other question that he has rattled on, and I've kept him waiting for this long, is which is my favourite Spice Girl? Okay. I thought long and hard on this because literally all of the Spice Girls have so many strengths and have absolutely every single one. Was the one that kind of captured my imagination. I have to try and be careful. There's. I don't know. I had a fascination with Scary Spice, Alan, in particular. There we go. I think if I had to choose one, Scary Spice, because I just think. No, not for me. And despite what Philip said about Ginger Spice, because of the hair reference, it wouldn't be that one for me. Okay, they were all great, but no, I wasn't particularly sporty. I was intrigued. I'm not particularly posh either, so I didn't, but no, Scary Spice. It's that Mel B, isn't it? There we go, Mel B. I think she was just like a big character. And you can see there. Let's have a couple of these end comments. Alan didn't see that one coming. I wonder, Alan, which one you thought I was going to go for. Maybe you can post that quickly. I can show that. And obviously the big comment, which is appropriate in any conversation to finish things off, is by Philip. A big zig-a-zig.
Zig-a-zig.
There we go. So... Listen, it's been great to talk again. I just really want to thank you for taking part. We'll see you again in the future. Sorry, I'm just stumbling over words there. Alan has literally posted for us. There we go. He thought it would be Posh Spice. I have no idea why. He thought I would go posh. Because, maybe he thinks I am posh, being a Teesside boy. But let me tell you, I have not been brought up in the poshest of places in Teesside. There we go. I'm just going to... Hannah, thank you so much for being involved again. It's been great, and the time has gone really quickly, and we've gone on longer than we said we would.
I feel like the last time I'm on here. Got a feeling I'll probably be back on again.
Yeah, you will be in the future. I'm just going to go back to full screen again, so I can just show people, obviously, our logo. This is what we're doing. It is live. And, again, we want to respond to your comments, so thanks for those of you who have... commented tonight. We've enjoyed that, a little bit of banter and the other big questions as well. You can please, view us on Facebook if you want to like our page. If you want to get in touch, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, and you can do that by posting on the page if you want to publicly, or you can send us a direct message. You can even use the contact form if you want to, on our website and so on. You can head over to YouTube and obviously pick up some of our kind of videos on there which have our services and so on. Like many churches, we've been meeting online, for quite a while now due to COVID restrictions. And we're taking the decision just to hang on. We're aiming for July to go back and meet in person. So we'll let you know a little bit more about that, as in the physical space. But we do have Zoom services every single Sunday. We do post the details on the Embrace Facebook page. So we'd love you to join us. I know it can be a bit daunting if you want to do that. So if you want to join the Zoom meeting but leave your camera off and your mic off, then do you know what, we're happy with that. If you just want to be like an observer that way, okay, that's fine. But if you want to message us, we'd love to talk with you directly. If you want to get in touch, we'd love to just safely have a coffee together and things like that. We'd love to be able to meet up with you as we can do that. Okay, so just like Philip has just posted there, Philip has just said July the 4th, all being well. All right. So subject to, obviously restrictions and things like that. We want to be safe and all of that, but we are looking forward to the time, hopefully July 4th, when we can get back together physically. But we realise that we want to keep this going. This doesn't mean that we will finish Embrace Wednesdays. We were gonna, we're talking a lot about how we can have an online gatherings as well, and that's really important because we realise that Sunday mornings are fantastic, but they might not be for everybody for lots of different reasons why. So we want to try and create a number of opportunities to meet in different ways, physically, online, whichever. So we want to be creative. If you've got any ideas about that, please let them know. And if you're not from Embrace Church, we still clearly want to know what your ideas are and so on. Okay. Thanks again to Hannah. Thanks to everybody who's contributed. You've been amazing. We'll see you next week for another episode of Embrace Live. We've got another guest telling their story about how they came to make a decision to kind of follow Jesus. Feel free to comment, get in touch. Have a great week. Bless you.